Prominent media outlets are losing employees rapidly as more and more reporters and journalists are no longer willing to put up with the bias of these outlets. Whew. Talk about this.
This is an interesting story because this is now the third one. We had Ariana Picari from MSNBC recently resigned, wrote a scathing letter and saying there's a bunch of intelligent people at MSNBC, absolutely no question. They're also biased as hell. Now, that's a paraphrase of what she said.
Biased as hell was the exact term she used.
Well,
they called it a cancer with no cure.
Right. And that is what we have seen from MSNBC. We see it from Fox.
You see it Fox, CNN, MSNBC. Cancer without a cure.
Yeah.
And the problem you got here, this wasn't the first story. You got Barry Weiss, who's the story.
The New York Times.
New York Times. Who was Andrew Sullivan also.
Right. With the
New York Magazine.
I believe Sullivan, New York Magazine, yeah.
New York.
And he's Andrew Sullivan. Everybody knows who Andrew Sullivan is.
Yeah, of course.
But these people, some good, some bad, I'll admit that, but they're all important voices, whether you agree with them or not. And that's the point. And that's what all of these people have said. I don't care if you agree with me. I don't care if you disagree with me. I have the right to say this with this outlet. But the outlet says, well, people don't want to hear what you have to say, so we're just going to silence you.
How many times when I did the show with Ed Schultz, where we told, no, we can't do a story about TPP.
Yeah.
Phil Griffith, the little character Phil Griffith, would come. He would say, no, you can't do a story about TPP because it's going to hurt Hillary. Hell, TPP, NAFTA, CAFTA, we couldn't talk about any of that because the advertisers didn't want us to talk about it. So this woman says, you know what? Enough is enough, MSNBC. I'm tired of being told what I can report, what I can't report. I mean, if you listen to what she says, it's really a lineup of hate, division that's being driven by the media. The ideological bias of CNN, ideological bias of Fox, they see it clearly and they're saying, I ain't buying it anymore. This thing that's supposed to take care of democracy is a disaster. Farron Cousins, thank you for joining me, okay?
Thank you.
A California appeals courts ruled that Amazon can be held liable for defective products sold on its marketplace. Legal journalist Molly Barrows talks about that with me. Molly, this is so long overdue.
Yes.
Okay. Amazon puts the product into the chain of commerce. All right. As long as there's no modification, no change to the product, there's a term called strict liability. You've put it out there. You've stood behind it in terms of strict liability. It's killed somebody. It's injured somebody. And now the Ninth Circuit says, you know, I don't think we're going to let Amazon get away with that anymore.
That's exactly right. And this came out of the appeals court in California. It's based around a San Diego woman who ordered basically a replacement battery for her laptop through a third-party seller on Amazon. And when she received the battery, it exploded. It gave her third-degree burns, caused her serious injuries. And she basically said, hey, I'm suing the manufacturer of this, the company that I bought this from, as well as Amazon, because you were negligent in allowing this product to be sold. And Amazon used the defense, which it always uses, because it's faced other liability-type lawsuits where they were being held responsible for damage or injuries that somebody received from a third-party seller. And Amazon said what they said in those cases, which is, hey, yo, wait, we're not a seller. We're just providing you a platform to give you buyers and consumers and sellers a place to interact and exchange your, you know, to go through the selling process. Well, in this case, the court said, wait a second, Amazon, you're in this every step of the way with this distribution process. Whether you want to call yourself a distributor, a facilitator, or a seller, or even a retailer, your behavior is that of a seller.
Yeah, there's plenty.
So you're responsible.
Plenty of examples of this with other companies over the years. I'm amazed that it's taken this long, to tell you the truth. But it had to be, I suppose, it had to be the right case with the right fact situation. But this is no different. I mean, if you listen to what the distributors, for example, in the opioid case had to say, they say, well, we just distributed it. We didn't do anything. We didn't make it.
No, it was poisonous and addictive.
We didn't have any idea what was really going on. We just distributed it. And so Amazon wants to say the same thing.
That's right.
They want to say, oh, no, we're just putting it out there.
We're just the Craigslist.
No due diligence at all. Isn't that part of the problem?
That's exactly what the problem is. If you go into Lowe's or Home Depot or any average retailer, if you will, and you buy a product and it hurts you, they're just as responsible as the person who created the product because they're the retailer. retailer. They've taken on that responsibility. That's the way our laws work. And basically, Amazon is not wanting to have that responsibility by saying we're not the seller. We're not to be held responsible. We don't have to go to this rigorous safety process to make sure that this product's safe like your average retailer would have to do that. So I imagine there's a lot of reasons Amazon doesn't want to. This is bad news for Amazon for a number of reasons. 60% of their business, they say now, is coming from these third-party sellers. And people, half the time when they go to Amazon, they don't know the difference between Amazon Marketplace, which is where you buy, Amazon goods, and then the other part, which is where you buy from third-party sellers. And there's a difference between the two, and I don't necessarily know.
It's a big difference.
But there is a big difference, and that's what they're trying to say. We might be responsible for the products that we sell, but we're not responsible for the products that these third parties do. But they're involved in it every step of the way.
Well, actually, now it's getting ready to get a little more monstrous because now Amazon is basically stealing the ideas of other manufacturers. In other words, they're able to keep up with the metrics. How does this product sell? It sells really well, so now we're going to go make that product. Look, this is a company that's closed down mom and pop stores all over the country.
Gobbled them up.
That's not enough for them. Now they have to actually gobble up the people who are trying to do business with them by saying, sell my product. And they say, hey, I really like that. Amazon says we can sell a lot of those based on our sales information.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because actually the court in this decision said as much because they were saying, hey, you want to claim that you're just a platform and providing the space for the business to occur. You're not. You're behaving like a seller, and here's part of the reason why. You're basically using this data that you're getting from who's going to buy what, and you're placing your ads where people are going to be inclined to buy this particular product. So you can't actively advertise it. You can't use the data that you're collecting off people to know what's selling well and what isn't. You can't say, no, when you have a problem with the product, you can't go through the third-party seller. You got to go through Amazon. They package it, they store it, they warehouse it, they keep the seller from the buyer in many ways, and so you can't have all that and say you're not responsible.
This case has potential to take Amazon back to reality. This is a reality check for them. They better pay attention. Molly, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Pat.